Shenanigans.
All right, so this one is coming from Lizzie Enders. Lizzie, the Washingtonian missed a deadline because they're CEO. What's going on?
So the CEO of the Washingtonian publication, her name is Kathy Merrill, and she printed or she had an op-ed of hers published, and in the Washington Post, and in that op-ed, she suggested that employees who choose to continue to work from home after the pandemic ends should be reclassified as contractors and no longer receive full-time benefits. So think about this, because I think everyone on the I'm not sure about Rob, but Neil, you're still working from home, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Rob, are you
Plan to
still
stay
working
that
from
way
home?
for a while.
What
Yes, I
about you,
am.
Gianni? You're still at home?
Yep.
So
Yep.
imagine, and it's a little bit different for Gianni because Gianni is working and going to school. But imagine if your employer said, okay, opening everything up, we want you to come back to work. You have to come back to work. And if you choose to work from home, you choose to continue to work remotely, then we're no longer considering you a full-time employee, even though you're working 40 hours a week, and we're stripping you of your benefits, and you're going to be a contractor. Even if you're, and people should know, even if you, when you are classified as a contractor, you're paid differently. You don't have the
Yeah.
same rights in terms of getting paid automatically like a regular full-time, full staff employee. You definitely lose
Yeah.
benefits. You're basically a freelancer.
Yeah. Got to buy
Okay.
your own health
You don't
Mhm.
insurance. You got to buy. And
have
yeah,
health insurance,
I know we got a lot of
benefits.
Canadians on, but yeah, we have to
You
buy our own health
are part of
insurance,
a
everything.
union. If you are part of a union, you have no rights, no protections, nothing. So, what would you do if your CEO, if your boss came out with an op-ed like this? If your boss was generating this type of rhetoric, saying, okay, if you don't come back, then we are not considering you a full-time employee and we're cutting your benefits.
Irritating.
Rob? Yeah, that
Well,
irritates.
I yeah, like I really enjoyed you bringing this to us because it's such a stark contrast to the story I did on Dan Price a little while ago, where we have a CEO who wants to pay people a living wage, and then we've got this individual, Kathy Merrill, who the Washingtonian hasn't gone under in the last year. It has survived as a result of everybody's hard work working from home. They helped keep this institution alive and healthy during a global pandemic. So honestly, Kathy Merrill, how dare you treat your staff like this? It's absolutely disgusting. She used a public forum to threaten these people's livelihoods, and I'm glad that they took to social media and conducted a work stoppage because I think that that's the best way to send the message through. It's like, okay, so you rely on us to get news out daily. I'm sorry, you're going to roll back our benefits. You're going to try to take this away from us while we're still working in the same framework. No, that's god awful. And one of the
Yeah.
more interesting quotes that I pulled from the article from Kathy Merrill was she said, I estimate that about 20% of every office job is outside of one's core responsibilities, the extras. It involves helping a colleague, mentoring more junior people, celebrating someone's birthday, things that drive office culture. If the employee is rarely around to participate in those extras, management has a strong incentive to change their status to contract. So I've been working from home. I still help my colleagues. I continue to mentor my peers and train new staff members. And if celebrating birthdays around the office means better benefits, I would love for the school's social media committee share those dates, and I will mail out cards for better benefits. I will go sing happy birthday to people's homes to just it's her reasoning is vapid. It makes no sense whatsoever, and this is just greedy people
Right.
looking after their bottom line. So, Kathy Merrill,
Getting the finger. Everybody, oh, from
Yeah,
everybody getting the finger.
kinda.
yeah, not
Johnny, what
impressed.
are your thoughts?
I think that um I don't know. I feel like what was she really arguing for? Like, because she kept saying, I kept seeing in the article, she kept saying a better it loses the office culture. It loses the office culture if you stay home. She tried to like retract her words and things, but why do you really want them in the office? Because I worked for a call center um, about 2 years ago. Oh, no, when was the pandemic? When did the pandemic start? Last year? It was March.
last
Yeah.
last March.
So last March, I only worked for them for 3 months, and then we were furloughed because of the pandemic. So I remember seeing their messages or their emails saying, you know, sorry about this. It's nothing personal, blah blah blah, but we have to move on and stuff. So I personally felt offended, and I only worked there for 3 months, and so I can understand those employees how they felt threatened by her words. I would absolutely take that as, oh, are we are we going to get our benefits stripped at this point? Um, and I just want to know her underlying real issue into like having them back at the office because it's cheaper to have them remote, isn't it? It's like you don't cheaper. No
It
light,
is.
electricity.
Because the individuals are paying
I
for
don't
their
know.
own internet, paying for their own lights, their own
You're not paying
desks.
any of, yeah, you're not renting out any
You're not
space
renting
at all.
space.
Right. So
Yeah.
I don't understand the actual issue, but yeah, she sucks.
Yeah.
She sucks. Definitely.
You know?
So the thing with teleworking is teleworking can work well or it can work poorly. Teleworking is actually the success of teleworking is very much dependent on the management, right? And how they manage their individuals. Because if you're a good manager, you can manage your people from just about anywhere. It doesn't really matter where they're actually physically sitting. If you're a good manager, if you know how to manage people, you can manage from anywhere. Um, so if you're struggling with teleworkers, it's usually a sign that you suck. So, that's usually what the sign is. The sign is that you are poor manage. You have trouble managing your people. I will tell you, if to answer your question, Lizzie, if I was told tomorrow that hey, I need to go back into the office or I would lose all of my benefits, I would quit. Or we'd have some serious discussions. Let me put it that way. We'll have some serious discussions because I might just
Negotiate.
take them to court or something.
Yeah.
But but I would definitely consider quitting. We would definitely have some conversations, and yeah, it's unlikely that they would do that in my situation. But yeah, it's yeah, no question. You, why are you trying to cause issues? I
Yeah.
mean,
What
it's
is the
your own
point of
employees, and why would you do it publicly? Why would you do an op-ed
I
in the
love
Washington
that.
Post? Why not just sit your employees down?
And
That's what it speaks to the management part that I was talking about. If you have to do an op-ed to have a conversation with your employees, something is wrong with you.
horrible?
also, I think a lot of people, specifically this particular CEO, isn't really being honest about the teleworking culture. So
Mm,
I left Sports Illustrated in 2016, right?
mhm,
But before that, in all of 2016, 2015, the company Time Sports Illustrated was under the Time Inc. umbrella. They were slowly but surely assigning their employees to work remotely. Not everybody and not full time, but there were magazines where, or even a part of like the regular staff for the company, they were working from home 2 days a week. We're talking 2015, 2016, because it was cheaper. Like you mentioned, it requires less space in the job. It requires less money, less, you don't have to pay for this, you don't have to pay for that, you don't have to pay for electricity, water, all these things. So a lot of companies in this country were already phasing in the
phasing it
tele
in. Yep, federal government's been phasing it in for
before
years, which is
before
why
the
they were
pandemic.
able to switch over quickly.
Yep.
Quickly. As a journalist, I am a journalist by nature. You know, I'm a veteran journalist. Yes, I'm a professor now, but I'm a journalist at heart. And let me tell you, we can do our jobs from home.
Hmm.
The people
Right.
at the Washingtonian do not need to be in the office to do their job. Most of their offices, no, most of their work is done on the computer or on the telephone. For reporters, they're out in the field conducting interviews. Yeah, you kind of want to be in the office so you can go over layouts and have that social environment where you can discuss what the product is going to look like. But with all of the advancements in technology, you can do that on the screen.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
her whole proposal here makes absolutely no sense, and it flies in the face of what corporations, what corporate America was edging toward before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I'm
Yep.
like, who are you fooling? Who are you? If you want to lay off people on your staff, then just lay off people on your staff. Don't
Yep.
create this phantom scenario. And like you said, why would you have an op-ed in the Washington Post, publish where you're like, okay, I'm not really talking about my employees. I'm hypothetically talking about the culture, the work culture. Bitch, you were talking about
About your employees.
you were talking about them. You were giving them the wink wink. Yeah, you better get your butt into
I
the
mean, at least
office.
be honest. Don't be
Right.
bullshit people.
And I'm with Neo. Like I said this last fall. I said this in the fall because over the summer, Howard was a little late in deciding how they were going to handle the fall 2020 semester. And I said this over the summer. If they tried initially said we're going to do a hybrid, you can come in or you can like I'm not coming in at all. And
Mm-hmm.
if that is a requirement, see ya. Bye-bye. I'm not doing and this was in the fall. Spring, I had the same mindset. I'm not coming in with these little children that are sniffling and sneezing and kissing each other and all kinds of stuff. No, not doing it. As we move towards the summer, all of my summer classes with New York Times, remote. For the fall for Howard, they're still kind of leaning towards remote. And I'm just like, I think that option needs to be on the table now more than ever
Mm-hmm.
because people might not mentally be prepared. I'm not mentally prepared to go back to work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I need to work on within
It's
myself.
been a year.
But it's been a
Mhm.
year. I can't just up and start going to work tomorrow. Absolutely. Listen, ask Mike Winter. I don't even want to meet him outside of my apartment for a drink, let alone get on the subway and go to work. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
you can't just force this on people like
Yeah,
this.
there,
You
there are
cannot.
there are some
No, they
psychological
can't.
issues left over, residual from this pandemic. There's no question.
And
Yeah.
despite the successful rollout with the COVID vaccination in the US, there are still a great number of Americans who are opposed to receiving the vaccination. You're nowhere near herd immunity rates. We're nowhere near having this conversation yet, Kathy Merrill. So I don't know
There's still
what she was
variants
thinking when
out
she
there.
wrote this.
There's still
Right?
variants that it doesn't work for. The vaccine doesn't even work
And we
for.
don't know exactly. The vaccine works for a certain strain. We don't these new strains that are popping up here there in certain pockets of the country of the world, we don't know if Moderna or Pfizer work for those.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot that goes into this. You cannot just come to the table and be like, okay, this is what it's going to be.
Yep.
Especially not for a newspaper or a magazine. Give me a break.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, question from Olivia: did she recant or issue an apology?
She kind of sort of recanted. Again, she tried to say that, and I agree with her on the headline because there were two different headlines. The initial headline had her suggesting that this was not only for the nation, but for her employees. She didn't write that headline. Writers of articles do not write headlines.
Mm.
Editors write headlines. I can
Interesting.
tell you that as a former editor, as a former writer for a publication, editors 95% of the time write the headlines. However, she wrote the content of that op-ed, and it fully suggested that she was talking about her employees as well as everyone else. And so she came back and she tried to recant or offer an apology and said, I really wasn't talking about my employees. You guys are more than welcome to take as much time as you want. The damage has been done. You've already played your card, Mama. You've already played your card.
Mhm.
Yeah. Olivia also said the pandemic ain't even over yet.
It's
Mike
not.
Wolf. Mike Wolf. It's embarrassing that the CEO of a company doesn't know at all the many specific legal elements that constitute the difference between a staff employee or a contractor. Mike Winter
I
says,
think
"I
she
go ahead."
No, I was just gonna say, I think she kind of does, and that's why she said they would be contractor status. Because as a staff employee, you cannot be denied benefits if you're working 40 hours a week. That's illegal.
Yep.
That's illegal. So that's why she wants to make the shift. Okay, you're no longer a staffer. You know, you're freelance. We don't have to give you anything.
Yep. Like when it says, I just love that the employees were like, well, you produced the magazine. If we were so easy to replace, then you do it. Mind you, Metro is not set up at full speed yet. Metro being the subway for the
Thank
area.
you. How are we supposed to get into the office? Come on now.
Not everyone is vaccinated.
Can't even
People
get
can't even get child care.
Yeah.
And he also said Vodka and Jameson kill COVID.
I mean,
Vodka and Jameson. All right, so we're calling this truth, lies, or shenanigans. I'm going with lies.
Shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
Lies.
Yeah.
A shenanigan lie.
Shenanigan lie. All right, let's get to our next topic.
Truth, lies, shenanigans.